Well, it seems like the rumours were true. A couple of days ago it was officially announced that the former Vancouver Titan and runaway legend Haksal will be joining the New York Excelsior. New York's squad was already considered to be one of the strongest in the league, but by adding one of the most highly rated DPS players in the game, on paper it begs the question as to whether they can now be compared to the best teams like San Francisco or Shanghai, given how stacked their DPS line now looks. Given Haksal's history and legacy, it's amazing to see him become a teammate of Huiyu on the Excelsior, one of his greatest rivals and adversaries on Genji from back when the pair played in Overwatch Apex. The question we need to ask though is how big of an impact will he be able to make on an Excelsior side that has produced mixed results, particularly of late, so far this season. Before answering this, I think it's also very important to recognise that another New York player, Mandu at main support, has just turned 18 and is now eligible to play himself, as I think it will be his introduction more importantly into the starting lineup alongside Haksal that could potentially see things change for the Excelsior. One of the biggest talking points regarding New York this season has been the change the team has tried to make to their playstyle. Throughout 2018 and most of 2019, the Excelsior were a much more reactionary and passive team, prioritising resources into Jonak to get early kills and swing teamfights in New York's favour when their opponents were exposed during their aggressive engagements. This year, however, the team has made an attempt to play much more proactively than they have in the past, and this is likely the result of IMT's promotion to head coach, after the foundation for this approach was laid under his guidance during the 2019 end-of-season playoffs. Clearly though, they are still adjusting to this new style of play, with mixed fortunes and results so far this season. Just like the previous 2 years, the Excelsior are so far enjoying quite a successful regular season in 2020, where they've come away with 9 wins from 12 matches. However, many of these wins have come against weaker opponents in North America and Asia, whilst their losses have come against the strongest teams in the league, and this isn't even taking into account their poor showing at the May Melee, just a couple of weeks ago. So what is going wrong at the moment? From what I have seen from New York over the last 2 months, there seems to be one key problem. That being the result of the players still getting accustomed to this new, more proactive style of play. I don't think you'll find anyone that doesn't recognise Mano as one of the best and most consistent main tanks in the Overwatch League, but at times this year he has certainly been singled out and targeted by his opposition. In years past it would be Mano's job to split apart the enemy team to create space for Jonak to pop off, or instead to finish off already weak targets. Now though, he's being asked to lead the engagements, and stylistically this is something that the Excelsior have had some struggles coordinating. Looking at their running of the dive composition for example, when things have come together successfully, Mano alongside either Hotbert or his DPS teammates have been able to effectively take apart enemy backlines, especially when they've been able to make an opening for Jonak to hit a Bionade. On the flip side though, and this was particularly prevalent during the May Melee, there has quite often been a disconnect between the frontline and backline that has created some issues. Against Chengdu, the Hunters realised they could often eliminate New York's support line when Mano jumped in on Winston, as this was the moment where the two were very separated and consequently exposed. Shanghai meanwhile took a more direct approach, punishing the lack of coordination by consistently killing Mano or pressuring him into retreats that started teamfights. During their elimination by the Dragons, this was emphasised even further when the Excelsior ran a Rein Zarya Lucio comp. Despite it being a composition that requires you to be on the front foot in order to take the initiative, space, and get the most value out of the composition's strengths, New York consistently found themselves hesitant to engage, leaving Mano and his shield to be overwhelmed, which in turn forced the team into multiple retreats and put them on the back foot, a point that was addressed repeatedly by Brennan Sideshow during the cast.
Yeah, May has had a lot of nerfs recently, but what a halt from Fearless! Yoinks them together and Mano falls early again. Mano has been getting destroyed over and over and over again in these team fights, often the first pick in a lot of these scenarios.
But Bren, you have to be playing aggressive. If you're playing a Reinhardt Zarya comp with a Lucio, you need to be the team that plays aggressive first. And instead, they were forced to back off. Overwhelming pressure coming out from Shanghai Dragons.
One of the reasons why they may be struggling right now is because Animo specifically could be having a hard time making this stylistic adjustment. Animo was the perfect main support for the Excelsior's previous style. A main support player that would stay out of harm's way, whilst also making sure to keep Jonak from getting into any danger. But now that New York wants to play more aggressively, it has suddenly forced Animo to try and change the way he plays, the result being that he sometimes reverts back to his old style, which hurts what the team is trying to achieve, or instead when he does play aggressively, seemingly his quality has taken a dip, and this is proven by the stats. Yes, he still doesn't die a lot compared to others at his position, but by looking at a top main support player like Funny Astro, he proves that you can still be very aggressive and impactful at the position, even without dying a lot. This is where I think Mandu comes into the equation. He enjoyed a very successful 2019 in Contenders as part of O2 Blast's roster alongside Myeongbong, where he showed a very aggressive, fragging style of Lucio that I know quite a few people rate very highly. For when New York want to play in some instances a more passive style, they can always rely on Animo, who this season has shown his quality on other heroes like Brigitte and Baptiste. But for when they want to run these more aggressive compositions that they've certainly been attempting this season, like the Lucio Rein Zarya comp, I really believe Mandu will be the key ingredient that allows the Excelsior to find success. He won't be afraid to push in with Mano and the rest of the team when they begin their engagements, and crucially I reckon he'll be far more decisive when he does, giving him a greater ability to get picks. What about Haksal though? As to be perfectly honest, his addition to their lineup wasn't one that New York especially needed, even if few of their fans are going to be unhappy about it. For both sides it is seemingly a win-win scenario. Haksal gets to play on a top team that could genuinely be challenging for the championship come the end of the season, whilst the Excelsior gain the talents of a top DPS player, whilst avoiding having to deal with him on another team. That said, we've seen this before with New York, who once again now have 5 DPS players on their roster. Sabiolbi, Nene, Libero, Huayu, and now Haksal, with 3 of these players having very similar hero pools to one another. Huayu by his own admission has struggled so far this season, and I believe Haksal would make an upgrade in the starting lineup over him, but that only works if a team wants to play a 2-flex DPS setup of Haksal and Libero. You therefore are going to have some situations where the team will have to choose between Haksal and Libero as New York's starting flex DPS player, and I think too often people underappreciate how good of an overall player Libero actually is, and certainly how much deeper his hero pool is compared to Haksal. You surely don't bring in Haksal if he's just going to sit on the bench, so you'd imagine Libero, but particularly Huayu, are now going to see less playtime, and as a result, one of them could eventually be cut from the team. I've been hearing rumours that Libero could be traded away, but I think this would be an awful move for the Excelsior, and an absolute steal for whichever team he landed on, given his proven quality across a wide range of heroes. For Huayu, meanwhile, we know he has a ton of potential, and the coaching staff in New York seem to really like him, but I fear that we may see a repeat of Flowers' situation if he isn't handled properly on the team. In an ideal world, we see the Excelsior swap Haksal and Libero in and out of their lineup based on the heroes the team wants to use. For instance, if you want to run Doom or Genji in a composition, they could play Haksal. For other heroes, they could go with Libero, and I think it helps that their best heroes cover each other's weaker ones quite well. Indeed, if they continue to run the double projectile comps that they've been trying of late, this new combination could prove lethal. I can also see how recruiting Haksal could be very helpful regarding New York's adoption of his more aggressive style. From playing on Runaway in Vancouver, Haksal has demonstrated how explosive he can be playing this more proactive style of Overwatch, and if combined with the introduction of Mandu, he can make a very positive impact by using his experience to change the team dynamic, forcing the players around him like Jonak, Mano and Hopper to play more aggressively with him and Mandu. Of course, only time will tell whether this comes to fruition, and the dreamer within me is hoping to see a Genji Echo composition in the future that could have both Huayu and Haksal blading alongside each other. Right now though, I'm cautiously optimistic that if Mandu and Haksal are utilised in the right way, they could have a tremendous impact on New York, making them much more threatening and coordinated when playing aggressively. And if this were to come true, it could put them in a position where they are much more realistic contenders for the championship come the end of the season, but we'll have to wait and see. On that note though, that's all I've got to say on the impact Mandu and Haksal could make on the New York Excelsior for the remainder of the season, so if you have reached the end of the video, then I'd like to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, then please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you want to follow me further, be sure to check out my Twitter and Discord, which are linked in the description down below. But until next time, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.